Jurisdiction. Void where prohibited. One Purdue customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick Six credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at picksix.draftkings.com/promos.
Sports Radio 810 WHB is bringing you live coverage from Radio Row at Super Bowl 59. Todd Lebo, Jason Anderson, and Sterling Holmes will have New Orleans covered. We'll bring you behind-the-scenes access from Chiefs and Eagles at Media Day all the way up to kickoff. And Sports Radio 810 WHB is your exclusive home for Westwood One's live broadcast of Super Bowl 59. Follow the
25 seconds.
810 WHB.
We all know Goodwill. But did you know when you donate stuff to Goodwill, you help provide job training for people right here in your community? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
KCFX HD4 Harrisonville, K279PI Kansas City, 103.7 FM. Sports Radio 810 WHB, Kansas City.
America's largest all-sports radio station presents the #1 motorsports show for over 2 decades, Track Talk, brought to you by Rod End Supply and the Power Ride Midwest Lightning Sprints. Here are the racing boys, Scott Traylor and Kirk Elliott.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Track Talk here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jay running the show back there for us at 810. Todd Surprise running the show for us here at RBN, the Racing Boys Broadcasting Network. My partner for 25 years, Kirk Elliott. Kirk, old Justin Peck has been putting it on him, hasn't he?
Yeah, it helps to start up front, too, doesn't it?
It does.
If he hasn't been on the pole, he's been on the outside front row, but you earn your position up there. And how you do that, you qualify well, you make the dash, and you start up front of the dash and finish up front of the dash, so you're going to get a good starting spot. And Justin Peck in that Rudine number 26 has taken full advantage of it down at Volusia so far in the ASCS. That is a fast racetrack, Scott. You've been there many times before. They label themselves the fastest half mile in America. Is it that? Is that an accurate statement?
I would not say that was accurate because I-70 Speedway was one of the fastest half miles in the country. Would you agree with that?
It was when it was pavement.
Yeah.
But that's no more, so you can't say that anymore. Bristol billed itself as the fastest half mile.
Right.
Eldora Speedway's fast, isn't it?
It is.
I think it's faster than Knoxville, obviously.
I think Eldora's could be maybe the fastest half mile on the on the circuit. Would you agree with that?
I would. But Volusia is still pretty fast, and the 360 cars were getting it the last 2 nights around Volusia Speedway Park, and the ASCS National Tour is off and going. This is not a full-fledged points race. I think the way they view that is because Seth Bergman is not there, and he's going to go for another championship. You can throw your worst finish out and still fight for the championship. I think that's the new rule.
Do you like that rule, Kurt?
Well, I like the fact that they're not requiring the ASCS guys to run for points at Volusia, because a lot of those guys that they're going to want to run the full ASCS tour are working guys. They can't afford to travel a long ways to race for points. So that allows those guys who didn't want to travel to Florida. This is kind of a one-off deal because the rest of the season doesn't start up again until April. I'm okay with that because you still got what they have over 50 cars the last couple of nights down there, so you don't really need to require these guys to run for full points at Volusia, but still it gives the ASCS National Tour great exposure. And the guys who are going to run the full tour want to go down to Volusia, like Blake Hahn, who's going to run the full series this year. Sam Haperteep was there, and some others that can still do that and not be required to do so.
It allows them to shake off the rust a little bit.
It does.
Right.
And
I'm surprised that Seth Bergman isn't down there, to be honest with you.
Well, he's probably got business to attend to, doesn't he?
The
Maybe.
coffee business.
Yeah.
Right.
So, like I say, a lot of those guys there are not full-time professional racers like we see in the World of Outlaws or the High Limit Series. Those guys that run the full ASCS National Tour work for a living, so you can't. But most of them are still there anyway. The vast majority of the guys that are going to run for ASCS points are in Florida racing this event, so I'm okay with it not being required to be a full-fledged points-paying event. But Justin Peck, there was kind of question, Scott, where he was going to end up this year. There was a lot of speculation of the rides that he was going to end up in and didn't. He used to drive the 13 car for Buick Motorsports, but now Dason Pursley is in the seat of that car. Then there was talk of Justin maybe driving the 5 car. There was, talk about him and 2 or 3 other rides, but he ends up kind of at the last minute in the Rudine 26 car. And from the outside looking in, Scott, this looks like a pretty good pairing for Justin Peck with Rudine.
Would you agree with me, Kirk, that Justin Peck pulled away from Cole Macedo?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He didn't stand a chance, did he?
There was a time there where Cole looked like he was chasing down Peck, driving the Wayne Johnson 2C car. And those guys are going to be racing the full-time World of Outlaws this year. And pretty good start, I would say, despite not winning, don't you think, with Cole Macedo and that 2C car? Pretty good start for those guys.
The biggest player was Emerson Axum. He started 21st, and he ended up running 4th.
Biggest mover of the night.
Right.
And a lot of...
Brian Brown did pretty good, too. He started 10th. He ended up 3rd.
He ended up 3rd.
Yep.
Now, the big question is, we know what Brian Brown's going to do this year. He's going to, run a full open schedule where he's going to pick and choose where he wants to run. Will that be the same for Emerson Axum? There was a lot of speculation that Emerson, that 27 car, was going to be going for Rookie of the Year in the World of Outlaws, or maybe the High Limit. What's Emerson Axum going to do? Is he going to run a full pick and choose schedule? I guess we don't know yet.
We don't know yet.
A lot of these guys are going to make a decision after they see how they're going to do down here in Florida. If Emerson Axum starts off the World of Outlaw season and runs up front and is in the top 2 or 3 in points, that would make your decision pretty easy. But I'm told, you might be able to correct me, I'm told that you have to make a commitment to run the World of Outlaws before the season begins to get the full perks and the full points for that. Am I wrong about that?
I think that Carson Macedo is going to run full-time with the World of Outlaws
He
as
is,
well.
again.
Yeah.
Carson Macedo trying to, recovering from that injury that he had out there in Australia. And he looks like that he'll be ready to go when the World of Outlaws open up next week. Don't think he's quite ready to go, but Carson's brother Cole, who we're talking about here, that finished second last night, full-time on the World of Outlaws Tour with Wayne Johnson and that 2C car. We had Wayne on here a couple of weeks ago talking about this pairing. Of course, he'd worked with Hank Davis last year on the ASCS Tour, but he said Hank wasn't ready to go in the World of Outlaws. As great a driver as Hank is and had done in the ASCS Tour, he felt he wasn't ready for a full-time World of Outlaws Tour, so they looked to Cole Macedo as the guy that they would take out on the road, and looked like that's been a pretty good choice so far, don't you think?
I would say that Blake Hahn started 9th, and he ended up running 13th.
First time ever for Blake Hahn at Volusia Speedway Park.
Right.
We'll hear from him here a little bit. We had him on our Mostly Motorsports show earlier in the week. But all these other guys that Blake was racing against last night have had laps around Volusia Speedway Park. This is Blake's first time down there. And I think he's done pretty well.
Right.
He made the dash last night.
He's made both A mains, hadn't he?
Yes, he has.
Yeah.
So getting these laps in down there and trying to get it all figured out. I'm okay with how Blake's done the first couple of nights down there, being his first time on that racetrack. He's qualified well. He's putting himself in good position to start the A mains when you consider over 50 entries, and you make the dash, that's doing pretty well. So Blake is feeling his way down there. We'll see how he does tonight.
Ricky Thornton Jr. does it again, doesn't he?
Lucas Oil Late Model Series,
Right.
All-Tech Speedway, Night 2. Ricky Thornton Jr. had it on Kill. That's a fast racetrack up there, isn't it?
It is.
That's a big half mile, isn't it?
It is.
He won by 8 seconds. Think about that for a minute.
8 seconds.
8-second victory for RTJ. He backs up what he did the night before. Now, he got kind of lucky on Thursday night because that was Devin Moran's race to win.
And he's working with a different crew this year.
Well,
isn't
he's with the Kohler Motorsports. That's where he ended up last year after he got fired from that SSI team, Anthony Burrows and everybody else. But I think RTJ has proven that it really doesn't matter who's working on the race car. He's going to find his way to the front. And last year, he ends up winning the Lucas Oil Late Model Championship in 2 different rides, SSI Motorsports earlier in the year. Then he gets fired, ends up with Kohler Motorsports, and still wins the championship. He had Chris Madden as the crew chief on that car. But he's got different guys working on that
Right.
car this year, Scott. And what's he doing? He's still out there winning races. So RTJ making it work at All-Tech Speedway the last 2 nights. But, boy, you got to really feel for Devin Moran on Thursday night. He had that race won, Scott, and shredded a right rear tire on the last lap, allowing Thornton to pull off the victory down there the other night. But, boy, they must have got some rain at Lake City, Florida, because that track last night was hammer down. That was fast.
It was a fast track.
A couple of guys, one guy did get upside down. Brandon Shepard, in his heat race, got up into the wall and rolled his number 1 rocket car.
Dotson almost got upside down as well.
Ethan Dotson got up into the fence.
Right.
It's a wonder he didn't flip that car last night. But we saw some tore-up sheet metal last night at All-Tech Speedway. The night before, we had some tires go down. We had some tire issues the night before. And they went out and did a total rework of the racetrack on Thursday night, which is a good thing they did because it probably would have rubbered down had they not done that. And it turned out to be a pretty racy racetrack, but it was hard on tires. RTJ coming out on front. And then last night, totally different racetrack. They got some rain down there. They had to dodge the rain clouds because it didn't look like they were going to get the whole 50 laps in last night because they predicted weather was going to move in at around the halfway mark, but they got all 50 laps in and beat the rain, and RTJ comes out on top. So do you think this helps Ricky Thornton Jr. and that team decide? Because there was some question if they were going to go try to defend their Lucas Oil title.
Right.
You know, he was racing at the Chili Bowl. Was he going to come back and race one of the first races of the season down at Golden Isle Speedway? He ended up going there, but he didn't. You know, if you remember, RTJ didn't get off to a good start down at Golden Isle Speedway. Didn't have a good finish down there at all.
If it was me, Kirk, I would run an outlaw schedule.
Well, I think based on what we've seen the first 2 nights, that's making the decision to run the full Lucas Oil Late Model Series pretty easy, don't you think? Now that RTJ has won both of these races, I think it's going to make it pretty easy for them to go for the championship. So I think that's what they're going to do.
Hudson O'Neill, he won down there at Needmore Speedway.
That was the Hunt the Front series that opened up in Georgia the other night. They were able to get that race in, and Hudson O'Neill was not driving his 71 car. He was in the Kevin Rumley number 6 machine at Needmore Speedway for the Hunt the Front series. So I think they were doing some testing on that Longhorn chassis, and so Hudson O'Neill was able to make it work. I thought he had a fast race car last night. He was running up towards the front, but RTJ able to get around him. Spencer Hughes also had a fast race car last night, but he wasn't able to fend off RTJ in the 20 RT car. So Speed Weeks in Florida is off and running. And
I
got
wish
a lot
I
of
was
races
down there.
coming up over the next 2 weeks.
I wish I was down there, Kirk.
Still time for you to do it.
Still time for me to go down there to go to the old C-Dip.
Is that still there?
I think it is.
Didn't get blown away by a hurricane or anything like that?
Right,
That's on the ocean, right?
right.
It's been a while since I've been to Florida and Volusia. I won't say how long, but it's been a while.
So, do you want to go down there, Kirk?
Uh,
We can get a room with 2 beds in it.
well, we'll think about it.
We'll drive your car down there. Because my car's got 202,000 miles on it.
Mine's got over 100,000 on it. Should we fly? Maybe not.
That's not in
Maybe
the budget. It's not in the budget.
Not in the budget. So what do you think, Todd? Should we go to Florida?
I'm not going, but if I'll hold down the
You
fort.
just came back from
I
California.
just came back from California, and I'm okay with flying. I'll wait a couple more days. Some scary stuff out there, some planes flying. So I just,
You know, speaking of,
Hey, that plane wreck that ran into that helicopter out there.
terrible.
horrible.
That is
horrible.
how many people died on 67 people died on that.
A lot of
plane.
those people were skate people that were performing on. It was me and my wife watched a little bit of on Channel 41. They were performing. The U.S. skate team was performing on in Wichita for some things, and that's who some of those kids were on. A lot of them were kids.
A lot of them were kids.
Yeah.
Very sad.
And so we watched some of that TV show. We were watching the live performance on the night. It was on 2 nights in a row, matter of fact. And
It's been probably on the national news more than anything.
well, we've never had. When was the last time we had such a terrible?
They said it'd been 16 years since we had a major airplane crash in this country. And then
Just
yesterday,
terrible.
2 days after this incident, there was a Lear jet that went down in Philadelphia last night.
Hey, Kirk, when was the last time that the college team went down on that in that plane?
Well, I remember, I think it was 1970, Marshall University football team went down, and that was like a month after another football team was on an airplane. Wichita State crashed. But both those events happened like in a span of less than a couple of months.
Right.
That was like 1970.
1970.
They made a movie about the Marshall football team. So, it's still the safest mode of travel in the country. We just haven't had many major airplane crashes, especially over the last 15, 20 years. So very rare, but now we've had, 2 plane crashes within 3 days?
Our thoughts and prayers are
Yeah.
with the family members that.
yeah, that's just sad.
Yeah, it is. It's real sad.
Yeah, boy, it just goes to show you.
Just never know.
You
never know when it's your time.
Yeah. Hey, this morning also, if you hear people here in Kansas City, if you're out there in the rural parts of it's a little slick out there. The frost has frozen over, so a lot of the side streets and your sidewalks will be slick. So don't go chasing after your dog or running out to get the paper this morning because, like you said, it's just a little slick. Now,
It's
once you
foggy out there.
it
isn't
was real foggy and it froze over. I didn't realize how slick it actually was until I got out there going and thought, wonder what that is on the ground. It looked like they'd put some kind of treatment on the ground. No, it was ice. It was ice. It was frozen frost. So I called Kirk to make sure he knew because I wasn't worried about him driving. I was worried about him walking out and jumping on that first step.
Right.
And maybe
That wouldn't have been good.
that's
Kirk-
what I worry about.
Kirk is not very
Well,
talented when it comes to
yeah,
his feet work.
Well, as you get older, your coordination and your
Slipping and falling down before you even get to the car. No,
Yeah.
that would not get your day off to a good
So
start.
that's why I gave you the text.
Some other sad news, and boy, we hate to report this morning. Avery Goodman passed away a couple of days ago. Avery Goodman was a racer.
He was a damn good racer as well.
And we saw him race in the ASCS Sooner region, among other places. He won races, too, by the way.
He won a lot of races.
And unfortunately, he was diagnosed with a rare form of cancer a couple of years ago, I think it was. And sadly, we lost Avery here a couple of days ago.
25 years old. Can
Yeah.
you believe that? 25 years old and lost him to cancer. It's too.
Oh, man.
That's too young to die.
This was a tough one because he was so talented in many ways. Just a great guy, great family. We're thinking of his family, Mike, and all the rest of the Goodman family down there.
Yogi
on the
as
sad
well?
Loss. Yeah.
Yep.
So, guess they will have services coming up in Tulsa. So our thoughts and prayers go out to Avery Goodman's family.
I might go
Sad,
down
very
there
sad.
for that service, Kirk.
So anyway, that's hard to talk about that.
Avery Goodwin, he was a very talented race car driver.
Yeah.
Maybe more talented than his dad and his brother.
Could be.
Yeah.
And we saw him win a couple of races down there.
Right.
So anyway, it's very sad news. Anyway, this is the 1st of February, and this means a lot of racing going on down in Florida. We're going to see racing just about every night over the next couple of weeks, Scott.
Right.
NASCAR opens up this weekend. Bowman Gray Stadium with what they call the Cookout Clash is tomorrow night. I was looking at the weather down at Bowman Gray Stadium. What kind of weather are they going to get this time of the year for the NASCAR Clash?
It's going to be cold.
It's going to be in the 40s tomorrow night when they run this race.
Didn't NASCAR
Partly
just
cloudy,
Can you
but
believe
in
that?
the 40s.
Didn't they just stop? I think they just had their banquet a couple of weeks ago, it seems like.
Seemed
So,
like it, didn't they?
I know they
Well,
start.
it kicks off this weekend at
You talk
Bowman Gray
about
Stadium.
running late and starting early. There ain't nobody that doesn't like NASCAR, right?
Well, you know, we're just 2 weeks out from the Daytona 500.
I saw
we got the Super Bowl next week,
I-
and then the week after that is the Daytona 500.
Saw the commercials this weekend already for the Daytona 500. They're already pounding it. So, yeah, I mean, it starts. NASCAR season starts so soon. If I had one thing
Too
to
soon.
if I had one thing to change, I would eliminate some of the races and start this thing a little bit later and end it a little bit earlier. That would be my recommendation.
Well, here's what I don't like about.
I agree with you, Todd.
It just seemed
Here's
long.
what I don't like about the lead up of the Daytona 500. Used to be you'd have off-season testing, you'd have practice.
Lots
you still got the twin qualifier races, but you don't have enough lead up to the Daytona 500. There's not enough buzz created now
Yep, I agree.
there's so little activity leading up to the Daytona 500. I think that hurts that event.
It does. It
by
hurts.
not having enough storylines to talk about leading up to the Daytona 500.
They should have
Right.
already been
Not enough practice.
Yeah, I mean, you used to have a lot of things to talk about 2 weeks before the 500
Right.
because cars had been out on the track. You could talk about who's in what team and so forth. None of that happens now. All of a sudden, it's here and you're off and running. I think NASCAR is suffering from that a bit.
I would agree with you, Kirk. We're going to take a break. When we come back, more of Track Talk right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. It's all brought to you by Rod End Supply, featuring the PowerEye Midwest Lightning Sprints. When we come back, Blake Hahn is going to join us next here on Track Talk.
Track Talk. Rod End Supply is involved with a variety of motorsports as well as industrial applications with many different.
3 minutes.
89. Rod End Supply has provided superior products priced competitively. Whether you're racing at the circle track or drag strip, rock climbing, or going off-road, Rod End Supply has an assortment of rod ends, radius rods, and specialty products to keep your equipment moving. Rod End Supply's experienced staff is ready and willing to help you with your needs. Their promise is to continue to provide a superior product with superior service so you can stay in front of the field no matter what it is. To learn more, go to rodendsupply.com.
Wouldn't you like to take a vacation from your bills? Well, you can. With credit card balances at an all-time high and Golden Oak's 5.25% rate, you could be saving thousands of dollars after a simple phone call. Call today and get your cash in as little as 14 days and make no payments for 2 months. Call 913-890-GOLD.
Golden Oak Landing cured my blues.
6.19 APR, FHA, 15-year, 20% equity qualified credit. Additional terms apply. NMLS 114937.
ICON is seeking healthy non-smoking men and women ages 18 to 55 to participate in a clinical research study at our facility in Lenexa, Kansas. Volunteers must be available for one stay of 13 nights and one follow-up visit. Qualified participants may receive compensation up to $7,500 for time and travel. Call ICON today at 913-210-5900. That's 913-210-5900.
Family Leisure's After Christmas clearance sale is here. Family Leisure has the best prices of the year on closeout, scratch and dent, and overstock products, and bonus deals for you if you mention 810. Pool tables, foosball, air hockey, bars and bar stools reduced by up to 70%. Hot tubs, tanning beds, and home theater seating at their best prices. Family Leisure has the best products, best selection, and best prices guaranteed. Take advantage of the special 810 deals while they last. Family Leisure, K10 and Ridgeview in Olathe.
Awesome!
1 minute. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. Past results afford no guarantee of future results, and every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
After my car wreck, there was a lot I didn't know.
I do know. My team knows injury law. We can help you understand all of your legal rights so that you don't get cheated.
DM Law knew what to do and got me $150,000.
Mike's got this. If you've been hurt in a car wreck, call me. I've got this.
816-888-7500. Mike's got this.
30 seconds.
You can feel it inside the stadium.
The Chiefs are headed to New Orleans to take on the Eagles in Super Bowl 59.
The Chiefs have won again.
And 810 WHB will bring you the best coverage as the Chiefs go for 3 in a row.
And this place is going bananas.
Follow the Chiefs on your home for Super Bowl 59.
Now the Chiefs are on the doorstep of history.
Sports Radio 810.
Going for a third consecutive Super Bowl.
WHB.
Welcome back. It's Track Talk here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Kirk, we had a chance to talk with Blake Hahn a little bit earlier in the week on Mostly Motorsports.
We did. He was coming off the Chili Bowl and shootout. He was very busy doing that. Now he's looking forward to the outdoor season and making his first trip down to Volusia Speedway Park. Going to run the full ASCS National Tour in 2025, going for his third championship. We had Blake Hahn earlier in the week to talk about his 2025 plans and his first trip to Volusia Speedway Park, and here's just a little bit of that conversation.
Blake, I'm really excited that you're going to go back and try to run for your third championship with the ASCS.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it, and it starts here in just a few short days. So we've got pretty much everything lined out. Look like we're going to have a good start to the season down there in Florida. So hopefully we can kind of, start where we ended at. So hopefully have a good season this year.
Yep. What was your decision? What was the process? I know you ran a lot of 410 races last year, but what was the process in your mind about going back to ASCS?
Well, for me, a lot of it, I've got two little ones now, so a lot of it has a lot to do with the family aspect. So the schedule fits really well for me. It's a good chunk of races, being 40 races, but it's also not too much too. So the racing schedule fits pretty good around Oklahoma. We have a few long trips like this Florida trip, and then we get to go out to Montana for a few weeks. But other than that, it's really around home. So I get to spend a lot of time with my little kiddos and make some good memories. But, really I just want to come back, and the fans are phenomenal. I missed a lot of the fans. I didn't get to go to a lot of the same tracks that I've been going to year after year, and I miss these people. And I'm looking forward to going back to some tracks we haven't been to. And, and then after seeing the trophy they presented last year for the champion and it being for my grandpa and having that statue sitting on my in my trophy case would be phenomenal for me. It'd mean a lot. It'd be cool to be able to pick up another championship under the World Racing Group banner.
Seth Bergman won the championship last year, and I was so happy for him because he'd been chasing that championship for a long, long time, hadn't he?
Yeah. It just goes to show how tough it is. It's no easy feat for sure, and year after year it continues to grow and get tougher and tougher. yeah, I mean, it probably was around 10 years for Seth to be able to do it, and it was close to that for me too. So, there's a lot of stiff competition this year. There's a lot of people returning. We'll have Sam and Seth both. I think they'll definitely be the ones to try to beat this year, and I feel like there's no reason we can't go out there and get a lot of wins and win that championship.
How old is your youngest baby right now? How old is?
A little over 3 months old now, so she's
3 months.
Still young. Yeah, she's doing. So there's a lot of learning going on in my household. I got a 3-year-old and a 3-month-old, so we're doing a lot of fun stuff over there.
Getting down to Florida, and hopefully the weather is a lot warmer now than it was a couple of weeks ago. Getting down to Florida will be like a breath of fresh air, won't it, for everybody?
Yeah, that was what I was hoping. Then I watched the late model race the other night and saw it was about 37 degrees. So I don't know what we'll have down there. Hopefully we'll have some sunshine during the day, and I'm sure it'll be a little chilly at night, but it ain't nothing we haven't raced in before.
What are your thoughts about the ASCS now under the World Racing Group? From the outside looking in, it looked like they had a really successful first year under the World Racing Group, the way everything turned out.
I think it's a great thing.
Yeah, I think with anything, the more time you have, the more stuff you'll learn and continue to improve on. So I think the first year was a great start. I think there's a few things they've figured out that they can improve on, and I think there's a few things they've already made some changes on. So being able to have World Racing Group backing them is definitely a good thing, and it's a benefit to have that opportunity and have that toolbox. So it's cool to see what all they've been able to do. I think the scheduling this year's gotten a little bit better. I think it'll continue to get better, and once people start seeing what kind of racing these 360s are providing, I think a lot of people will be interested in watching them.
So what are the big changes behind the scene? You did race some 360 stuff last year, pretty successful at it, but what are some of the big changes you got to make to your team to transition over to more 360? I assume you're probably still going to run 410 on occasion?
Yeah, with that being that 40-race schedule, it still leaves us a lot of time to go toy around with the 410, and pretty much after this trip to Florida, we're off till the beginning of April. So I'll get to go run a lot of the World of Outlaw races down in Texas in March. So we'll get a lot of racing in still. But yeah, for the most part for my program, not a lot's changing. I'm still with the same manufacturers on my parts, and we're really happy with where we're sitting at. We struggled last year a little bit early on, but we still were able to learn, and we picked up a lot of steam towards the end of the year. So we're happy with where we're sitting. We hope to kind of start with how we ended our year. We had some really good speed towards the end of the year at Creek and Tulsa Speedway. So hope to kind of follow up with that and just continue to grow and continue to learn and get better and better each time we get out there.
I know Emmett sold the series to the World Racing Group, and I think that was the best decision that he's ever made. I know that there was an owner before that, but I swear to in my eyes, it's really the greatest thing that he ever did with the ASCS. Would you agree with that?
I agree. Yeah, it seems great. Like I said, having World Racing Group right there to be able to get all the benefits that they can provide. Obviously they've got a few racetracks in their pocket that they can race at, like Volusia. So there's a few tracks we get to go to that we typically wouldn't go to. And we get to kind of base our series off the World of Outlaws. Obviously, they're the top series, and there's a lot of things, drivers and crew members and officials can learn from the World of Outlaws. So if they can get that to transfer over to the ASCS and continue to get it to grow, I think it's going to go in the right direction. And, to have a vision like they have for racing is definitely a good plan. And to also have the dirt vision to be able to back us and get so many eyes on the races that a lot of people have been missing out on I think is going to be really good for the 360 racing this year.
Yeah, it gives the season off to a great start racing at Volusia. You're going to have a lot of eyeballs on the series. This is a great boost to the start of the season racing at Volusia, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And the amount of media that Dirt Vision does with the drivers is great. It's good for us drivers, for our sponsors, and just our brand in general. So it's cool. I imagine we'll do a little bit of we'll probably have a media day once we're down there in Florida, and hopefully we can get some happy sponsors and continue to get some good eyes on these people that help us get up and down the road.
Big half-mile racetrack. How do you like Volusia? Have you raced there before?
Nope, never been there. I've ran down in Florida. I've ran at East Bay and Ocala, but we've never been to Volusia. So I've been watching some film. I've been kind of studying how the track blows off throughout the night and kind of how it transitions, and just kind of trying to keep an eye on how the track changes throughout the night. I struggled on half miles when I first started running sprint cars, but I feel like I'm much better now, and I look at that track and I feel like it kind of fits my driving style for a half mile. So I'm looking forward to going there. Like you said, it's a good start to the season. There's not a lot going on, so a lot of eyes are going to be on us. So hopefully we can go out there and get a good start to the season and maybe pick up a win while we're there.
Hey, you were pretty good at Lakeside Speedway, just so you know.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite bigger tracks too. It's a track that I enjoy going to. It's a track that, it's a big, fast track, but you can almost get away with some small track tendencies. So I think that's why I can get around there with some good speed and have had some good success there.
You drive these cars a lot different than the 360 drive a lot different than the 410. More momentum with the 360 on a big track like that?
Obviously, you got a lot more power with the 410, but you definitely have to keep up your momentum. There's some things you can get away with in the 410 that you can't with the 360, but then there's also some things you can do in the 360 that you can't do with the 410. But for me, I've been really having to try to drive a little bit differently in the 410. I got to be a little bit more aggressive. The driving style is a little more aggressive. The racing's a lot more harder. People put you in positions where you either have to lift or go for it. So, racing with ASCS, guys, they work on their stuff. They know it might be a long night if they put a guy in a situation. So you kind of get away with not driving near as aggressive as you would have to with the 410. But for me, you just got to go out there and you got to be on kill from the drop of the green. And I think that's what it takes to go out there and win championships.
Hey, I know the Fuzzy Fall Fling is maybe the biggest race of the year for you personally, because I was really tight with Fuzzy, and Fuzzy never minced words, did she?
Nope, absolutely not. She had something on her mind. She'd tell you exactly how she felt. But yeah, it's a good event, and it's continuing to grow. It seems year after year we've been able to get more car count, and it was a great turnout last year too. So I'm looking forward to seeing exactly where it can go, and hopefully we can get our name on that winners list too.
And it's right close to the house. This is home for you to close out the season. That's a big deal.
Right down the street.
Yeah, it doesn't get any better for me. Being able to race close to home is fun. I get to have all my friends and family out there, and then get to do some hanging out after. Like normally, if we're at a track, we try to get out of there, get to the car wash, and get down the road. But being at the end of the season and being right there, we'll just hang out and have some good time with the fans.
Your Chili Bowl, you ran really well on your qualifying night. You passed a lot of race cars. Saturday night, just give us your overall evaluation of your Chili Bowl.
Yeah, I would say we struggled overall for the whole week of it. Wednesday night we struggled early. We weren't great early on. We were able to have some good speed in the heat race, but we still struggled, and we were able to find something wrong with the car later in the night after the B feature and make some changes for the A feature. And I feel like we really brought the car back to life there. And I thought we were sitting pretty good for Saturday. We had to start 10th in the B feature, which isn't great, but isn't terrible. Top 7. So I just had to pass a couple cars. So in my eyes, I felt like it was doable. And we just lacked a little bit of forward grip in the B feature and just struggled a little bit. I moved around. I think I maybe hung around on the top too long early on and let too many guys by me and had to work for those guys back. So kind of just put myself in a hole on the first few laps and had to dig it out. And we'll get back at it and see if we can get a little better for next year and hopefully be able to bust out the midget a couple more times throughout the season.
There he is, Blake Hahn, and we'll be watching him tonight down at Volusia Speedway Park.
He's made the A main both nights in a row.
Yes.
Yeah.
He made the dash last night. You got to have some experience around Volusia Speedway Park to really know how to drive that racetrack.
Right.
Because especially with the 360 cars, a lot of momentum. And you give Blake a few more laps around that racetrack, he'll get the handle of it. But there again, like we were talking about earlier, Scott, he's racing against guys down there that's got plenty of laps around that racetrack. All those guys that he was racing against last night have had experience at Volusia Speedway Park. So give Blake a few more laps, and I think he gets the top 10 finish tonight. He just flirted with the top 10 the last couple of nights.
We're pulling for him.
Inside the top 10 tonight. What do you think?
I think we're pulling for him.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
So we'll be watching that tonight on Dirt Vision, the night 3 of the ASCS Dirt Car Nationals.
Kirk, we need to do the Hall of Fame read.
Corvette giveaway. We've got a beautiful Corvette for 2025 that the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum are going to be giving away this year. It's a yellow, it's bright, what they call a competition yellow 2025 Corvette. It's a ZR1
1,000
with the ZTK
horsepower
performance package.
1,000 horsepower.
1,064 horsepower. That extra 64 horsepower
Kirk,
makes a difference, doesn't it?
Maybe we'll win it.
Boy, that you wouldn't want me driving it, though, would you? You're going to be the driver.
I'd be the driver in that thing.
It is it's pretty powerful engine in this car. 5.5-liter LT7 V8 engine, 1,064 horsepower, twin turbo with flat plane crankshaft, 8-speed dual-clutch transmission, the ZTK performance package, carbon ceramic brakes, front lift adjustable height memory. It's got split rear window and hatch intakes and performance exhaust system. This is a beautiful Corvette. You can win this. All you got to do is register. Go to winacorvette.org to get signed up. And if you're the winner, not only you win the car, but the $30,000 cash to pay the taxes. So it's all taken care of for you. The draw for this, the week after the Knoxville Nationals. So get signed up for today. All the proceeds go to the betterment of the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum. Winacorvette.org to get signed up today. The Dennis Holbaugh Suite Tower is under construction. It should be open by the time the season starts in April, when the World of Outlaws opens up the season up at Knoxville.
Right.
That's how far along they've come with the Dennis Holbaugh Suite Tower. And so that changes drastically the look of the Hall of Fame in Turn 2 up at Knoxville. So if you want to drive up there and check it out today, you can do that. You don't have to wait to the start of the season to go to the Hall of Fame.
They're open 7 days a week.
Open 7 days a week in Knoxville. And if you want to check out the items in the gift shop, go to sprintcarstuff.com.
All right. When we come back, we're going to play a segment that we did with Brad Wyatt. And it's all brought to you by Rod End Supply, featuring the POWRi Midwest Lightning Sprints.
Speaking of POWRi Lightning Sprints, you and I went to the banquet.
We did.
Last Saturday at the Corner Café.
Yeah.
And good to see Bob Douglas walk up. He's up kind of walking around now, getting recovered from his injury down there. We missed seeing him down at the Chili Bowl this year, but it was great to be there last week. Stanley Kreisel was the champion that was crowned, and we're going to hear from Stanley in hour 2 exclusively on raceboys.com.
All right. Thanks, folks, for tuning in to Track Talk here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. It's all brought to you by Rod End Supply, featuring the POWRi Midwest Lightning Sprints. When we come back, Brad Wyatt joins us next here on Track Talk.
Track Talk. Rod End Supply is involved with a variety of motors.
3 minutes.
Applications with many different types of products. Since 1989, Rod End Supply has provided superior products priced competitively. Whether you're racing at the circle track or drag strip, rock climbing, or going off-road, Rod End Supply has an assortment of rod ends, radius rods, and specialty products to keep your equipment moving. Rod End Supply's experienced staff is ready and willing to help you with your needs. Their promise is to continue to provide a superior product with superior service so you can stay in front of the field no matter what it is. To learn more, go to rodendsupply.com.
All of your favorite football playoff matchups are coming to Sports Radio 810 WHB. There's only one station big enough to bring you championship football. Sports Radio 810 WHB. Your home for all playoff football coverage and Super Bowl 59. Brought to you by Greenlight Dispensary. Make sure to check out greenlightdispensary.com for all premium cannabis products. The best cannabis deals are always at greenlightdispensary.com.
What's up, Kansas City? Jake Gutierrez here, and have you played Pick 6 from DraftKings? You better get on it. It's Super Bowl 59, the last time to play NFL Pick 6 this season. As the official daily fantasy sports partner of the NFL, DraftKings does fantasy sports like no one else. Play for better payouts on Pick 6. It's super easy to get started. Select 2 or more players, choose if they'll have more or less of a stat, like touchdowns, yardage, sacks, and more. And DraftKings is making it even sweeter for first-timers. New Pick 6 customers, play $5 to get $50 $59 in Pick 6 credits. That's awesome. Win more cash on Pick 6. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app and use code 810WHB. That's code 810WHB for new customers. Play $5 and get $59 in Pick 6 credits. Only on DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Void where prohibited. One per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
Wouldn't you like to take a vacation from your bills? Well, you can. With credit card balances at an all-time high and Golden Oak's 5.25% rate, you could be saving thousands of dollars after a simple phone call. Call today and get your cash in as little as 14 days and make no payments for 2 months. Call 913-890-GOLD.
Golden Oak Landing, cured my blues.
6.19 APR, FHA, 15-year, 20% equity qualified credit. Additional terms apply. NMLS 114937.
Fall in love with your home comfort.
1 minute.
Money 2. A $69 heating system tune-up from Hamilton Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Rooter is the best way to ensure your HVAC system is operating at top efficiency. Boost your comfort and help prevent breakdowns by calling the experts at Hamilton today. With over 40 years experience and more than 8,000 5-star reviews, the pros at Hamilton are your best bet. Visit callhamilton.com for detailed terms and conditions. License number 2024-11121.
So you're
30 seconds.
problem. KCI Car Care Center, the Phillips 66 station on Paris, is going to take care of you with a $15.87 per day Super Bowl valet parking special. That's a great deal since you'll find them less than 60 seconds from curbside drop-off at departures. You can reserve your $15.87 valet parking special online at kcicarcarecenter.com, but walk-ins are always welcome at KCI Car Care Center. So plan to watch the game in your hometown and make sure you mention Sports Radio 810 when you arrive.
Welcome back to Track Talk here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Don't forget, hour number 2, you can watch it on YouTube, you can watch it on our homepage, and you can watch it on Facebook as well. So we had a chance to talk to Brad Wyatt, didn't we, Kurt?
Brad Wyatt is the new owner of the MWRA. That's the Midwest Wingless Racing Association. It used to be coordinated with USAC, but now they're being sanctioned by Power I. And a week ago, some of the teams and the power brokers got together for a meeting last week, and they came out and announced a merged 21 race schedule for 2025 between Power I, WAR, and the MWRA. Brad Wyatt was on our Mostly Motorsports show earlier this week to talk about it.
Let's talk about you taking over NWRA. How'd that all come about?
It came about last fall. I guess it all really started in the spring. There were some really low car counts, and then there were some really good car counts, but things are really up and down. And I remember on the way home from Lake Ozark, there were like 7 cars or something for a war show. And my buddy Zach looked at me and he said, "What are we doing next year?" I'm like, at the time I'm just worried about going to Casey's and getting my pizza. And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "What are we going to race next year?" I'm like, "Well, we're going to race sprint cars. What are you talking about?" He said, "Well, this is like the third 7-car race we've been to in a couple of months. You think this is going to be around, man? It's been pretty tumultuous," and kind of just put a bug in my ear. And it always made me question everything as I saw, just the local scene kind of struggling no matter what any of us tried to do to help it or any of the series tried to do to help it. So, and then fall rolled around. I hadn't raced much. We came out pretty strong at the beginning of the season, but wrecked a whole bunch of race cars. And my son races go-karts and junior sprints, and he races a lot. So I really just took the year off to spend the time with him after some bad luck in the spring and had a great time. But I started reaching out to the local racers because I hadn't raced, and it was time to start thinking about going to Chili Bowl and all the stuff you think about in the winter. And got me thinking about racing next year or this coming year. And I thought, man, it's not gone great some of these times, even though they did finish out, I think, at Valley with some really good car counts. But I thought if somebody doesn't unify some of these guys and just maybe be a voice at least, because
a lot of people don't like to do that, and I didn't want to do that. But
Right.
long story short, I created this group message and messaged all these guys and said, where do you want to race? What do you want to do? Like, I'm going to call these guys because I'm in a position now where my kids are really busy and my son races, and it'll be a little bit easier for me to just stop doing this. But if it can be a little bit better, I'm going to stick around, and I'm a racer, so that's really what I want to do, right?
Right.
So we had all got together with our ideas and stuff like that. And then Shelby, who owned MWRA at the time, she had expressed some interest to some people in maybe getting out or stepping down or slowing down because she had other things going on and stuff like that. So that's kind of how that all came around. And then it just kind of blossomed from there. I talked to Shelby and went ahead and bought some of the property that the series owned and stuff like that. And just kind of took over from there. Yeah.
How did it all come about with the Power Eye War Series in the NWRA? How did that come together?
Yeah, that was kind of an easy one for me, honestly. Casey Schumann's one of my best friends, and he ran the War Series or started it back in the day, and then obviously he stepped away to go work with the Outlaws and do other things. And he's recently moved back here. He lives here now in Missouri, and with his connection with Power Eye, it was definitely an easy talking point because the two competing series are one component of, in my opinion, what was killing racing. We have really good non-wing sprint car racing right here in Kansas City, and when some of the guys show up from California or Indiana or down in Arizona or wherever it may be, they're really shocked at how good we all are. Honestly, there's been a couple. One in particular who showed up and didn't even make the show, and he's really good. So I think the two competing series was hurting what we have. We have good cars, but we don't have enough cars to have two series. This is in Indiana. So in order to grow it to maybe one day where we do have the ability to have two completely independent competing series, and if I had my way, we would have a local racetrack that ran bi-weekly non-wing sprint cars. That would be super awesome. So that's kind of how that came about. I talked to Casey, and Casey said, well, let me talk to Kenny, and I know it was USAC sanctioned, and I don't know what they did. I mean, they just all kind of provide insurance and stuff like that, and they have way bigger things to fry. I mean, they're the premier non-wing deal in the country. That's undeniable. So just through all those talks, I just thought it would be best to try to unify things and move it down into one. But War still has its name, and MWRA still has its name and own identity. So we're not exactly giving up the ship or throwing things away or anything like that. That's for sure.
I know that you're going to run at Lakeside Speedway on August 15th. That's the Weld Memorial. That's always a big race, isn't it?
Yeah. Lakeside's always a good car count. Lakeside's obviously a historic Kansas City venue, and the sprint car fans seem to really love Lakeside. Yeah.
Yeah, looking at the schedule, Brad, this is Kirk. Thanks for coming on. Yep. It mirrors a lot of what the MWRA used to have. I know there's, Lake Ozark Speedway. Power Eye owns that racetrack, and you're going to go to Macon, Illinois one day. Yep. But outside of that, these are pretty gettable races. Really the reason why MWRA came into existence, a lot of these guys didn't want to travel a long ways to get to the races.
Yeah, I'm surprised and actually really thankful you just said that, honestly. Mostly everyone is really happy with what we did. And when I took it on and took the step to do this and honestly stick my neck out, local racing was the entire purpose of it. And that was the very top line on my agenda before I took it on, and when I started messaging all the teams and getting everybody together, the first question was, where do you want to race? Because everything, when we do have so many good cars in Kansas City, and we don't need to go 4 or 5 hours down the road, even 3 hours down the road sometimes. So actually, people probably wouldn't believe it, or a few of the critics might not believe it, but me and Schumann would fight like brothers about that. And he would say, well, we can go over here. It's not that far. And I would shut it down. Nope, we're not going there. So local racing was my number one agenda.
I believe that Brad Wyatt is going to be a tremendous asset to MWRA. Would you agree with that, Kirk?
yeah, I hope everything works out. He's a racer, so he's kind of looking at it from that point of view. When I look at this, Scott, I'm looking at it as a race fan. When I go to the races and see non-wing sprint cars, I'm a big fan of non-wing sprint cars, by the way. I want to see a great car count. I want to see all the heavy hitters there, and I want to see great racing. That's all I want to see. And if this means that that's going to happen that way, where everybody's going to show up at the same event, not scheduled on top of each other,
I think
I'm
that's a
all for
plus.
I mean, when it comes to the internal politics of it all, I don't care about that. I just want to see great racing. I want to see all the great drivers there.
Want to see great
if
car
this
counts.
If this leads to that, then I'm all for it.
I think the car count is going to be a lot better this year. Don't you think, Kurt?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, looking at the schedule,
right?
I would think that it would be. And, the wholesale battery is the big sponsor to all this. And
right.
That's what the MWRA brings to the table, because POWRi War didn't have this sponsorship. Now they can unify this whole thing together, and Wholesale Battery, who's bringing the money to the table for the point fund and so forth, can help with all that. And, I'm thinking, can't everybody just get along?
Right.
That's really all I'm looking at, and hopefully it works. And it means great car counts and great racing moving forward. We'll see how it all works out. But we're going to hear some more from Brad Wyatt coming up in hour 2. So stay tuned for that exclusively.
Marvin says, good morning from Daytona.
Yeah.
I'd
Daytona.
love to be down there.
They had the Rolex 24 down there last weekend. And, of course, coming up, there's something missing with Daytona Speed Week, Scott. Back in the old days, you and I used to go down there every year. You had a couple of weeks lead up to the Daytona 500. That's all missing now. We've moved the Clash out of Daytona, moved it out to California for 3 years. Now it's at Bowman Gray Stadium. I don't know, Scott. I think that Clash belongs in Daytona, but that's just my opinion.
I would agree with you, Kurt.
I mean, if you don't want to run it on a Sunday, have it on a Tuesday night or something. But I think that Clash belongs in day. We'll see how it works out at Bowman Gray Stadium. I think the weather was always going to be an issue there. I see it's going to be in the 40s tomorrow night. We'll see how that works out. But I don't know. I think the Clash belongs in Daytona. There's not enough lead up to the Daytona 500.
It's been really cold down in Florida.
It's been cold there, too. I see it's going to be in the 60s today in Florida. It got warm there yesterday, but I don't know. You had the Super Bowl next week, and then all of a sudden, here's the Daytona 500, and I don't like it. I think there's something missing in Florida Speed Weeks.
I would agree with you, Kurt.
So they need to go back to the way, my dad always used to tell me, nothing is ever the way it used to be. But in this case, I'd like some of the Daytona Speed Weeks to come back to the way it used to be. But that's just me. What do you think?
I think I agree with you, Kirk, 100%.
We don't have enough to talk about with the Daytona 500 coming up. We've got no storylines. There's no talk
hard
about
lines.
who's doing what. NASCAR is missing the ball
1 minute
right now when there's nothing to talk about 2 weeks ahead of the Daytona 500.
You see these ticket prices that you can cost you $125 is the cheapest it's going to get you into the Daytona 500 this year.
I heard it sold out.
Well, there's a few. I think there's a few tickets. I'm looking at some singles. I'm talking about some singles here and there. No, but if you want to go ahead and drop the big bucks, you can stop here in the Club 500. Is what they're saying. That's $3,000.
A couple of years, the first cars on the track were the twin qualifying races.
The price of the Super Bowl is crazy.
Oh, insane!
How much to the Super Bowl?
It's
$4,000 for the upper deck.
God.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, stupid.
A lot of fans will go down to New Orleans just to hang out, knowing they're not going to get in, but there's just enough other activities going around that they'll make the trip down there knowing that they're not going to get in the game. What's wrong with that?
No thanks.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in to Track Talk here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. It's all been brought to you by Rod End Supply, featuring the POWRi Midwest Lightning Sprints. Stanley Kreisel's going to join us next. He's the champion of the POWRi Midwest Lightning Sprints as well. Kurt?
And more from Brad Wyatt. And who knows what else we're going to talk about? Hour 2.
Hour number 2. You can watch it on Facebook. You can watch it on YouTube. You can watch it on our homepage, racerboys.com. For Todd, for Jay, for Kirk Elliott, I'm Scott Traylor saying thanks for joining us. We'll see you in hour number 2 right here on RBN, the Racer Boys Broadcasting Network.
Rod End Supply is involved with a variety of motorsports as well as industrial applications with many different types of products. Since 1989, Rod End Supply has provided superior products priced competitively. Whether you're racing at the circle track or drag strip, rock climbing, or going off-road, Rod End Supply has an assortment of rod ends, radius rods, and specialty products to keep your equipment moving. Rod End Supply's experienced staff is ready and willing to help you with your needs. Their promise is to continue to provide a superior product with superior service so you can stay in front of the field no matter what it is. To learn more, go to rodendsupply.com.
Sports Radio 810
Thanks, my man. Appreciate it, brother.
is bringing you live coverage.
That was pretty smooth, and I will see you next week.
Yep, I appreciate it, man. Good job. Thanks.
New Orleans covered. We'll bring you behind-the-scenes access from Chiefs and Eagles at Media Day all the way up to kickoff. And Sports Radio 810 WHB is your exclusive home for Westwood One's live broadcast of Super Bowl 59.
Rod End Supply is involved with a variety of motorsports as well as industrial applications with many different types of products. Since 1989, Rod End Supply has provided superior products priced competitively. Whether you're racing at the circle track or drag strip, rock climbing, or going off-road, Rod End Supply has an assortment of rod ends, radius rods, and specialty products to keep your equipment moving. Rod End Supply's experienced staff is ready and willing to help you with your needs. Their promise is to continue to provide a superior product with superior service so you can stay in front of the field no matter what it is. To learn more, go to rodendsupply.com.
Sure, especially sportswear in-house. We do all of the screen printing, all the embroidery. We do some vinyl. The other ad specialty items like your pens, magnets, notepads, calendars. You can actually buy that, build your business to make it larger. We have the largest screen printing process and the largest embroidery anywhere around in the area. We can do stuff all the way from your school clubs to sports teams, a professional look in the office. If you can imagine it, we can do it for you.
From the circle track to the drag strip to off-road racing, Rod End Supply has been keeping their customers at the front of the field since 1989. Whether you need rod ends, tubular rods, or specialty products, Bob Douglas and his Rod End Supply staff are always ready to help you with your needs. You can visit them on the web at rodendsupply.com or call them at 800-284-2902. That's 800-284-2902. Rod End Supply, keeping you at the front of the field.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Sabres 33 RLP. Let's go take a tour. Coming into this animal, we're going to take a trip back here to the feature of this trailer, the deck. Check it out. It's awesome. It's 4 by 10 feet. You can dance on this thing. Boom! Check it out. It's pretty nice. And then coming to the back of this thing, you got a 75-inch TV. It's huge. 60-inch fireplace. It's nice and big, keep you warm. Then you got an ottoman that converts into a table, if you will. Maybe some TV trays. Then this hide-a-bed that I'm pointing at, it comes out and folds into like a king-size bed with storage in the corner for all your linens. Great little addition to the trailer. Your dinette, of course. Then you're gonna come around to the kitchen with the tic-toc sink. It's got the spritzer and the waterfall and all that stuff. Residential style refrigerator. It's got the microwave and the oven that's residential as well. Big old pantry over here with motion detected lights, coffee bar, and then coming up to the bedroom, you'll have the bathroom first, nice and spacious with a seat in it for them ladies. And then we got the king size bedroom with washer dryer hookup. I'm telling you, this is a home run for a couples coach. Come and see me, Kyle Walker.
When Steve died, the outpouring of love was amazing. These dollars had come together to support us, and we realized, no, we didn't want to use them for us. We wanted to use them to help others.
The foundation has done so much for so many people. It helps any family that has somebody, whether it be a crew member or one of the drivers, that get hurt. We can help them to get through the situation.
I was injured in a non-wing sprint car accident that broke my neck and left me with a spinal cord injury. I was in the hospital 8 months, and that got really, really expensive. So having that extra help to help push me and my family forward was a big deal.
Yes, Steve's death is the reason the foundation exists, but it's Steve's life, and it's the lives of racers everywhere, is the reason we're able to do the work we do.
So we have a lot of folks come in interested in traveling for work. This is going to be a great option. Your Coachman Northern Spirit 2565 front kitchen. You have a nice wraparound full front kitchen here. Huge windows up top. Big 12-volt refrigerator. Lots of windows on the sides here. Great natural light coming in. You have your big TV over here on the swing arm bracket so you can kind of see it from any point in the room. Also have your bar stools here. Sit and eat your breakfast. In the bedroom, you're going to have a king-size bed in the slide-out. Lots of storage underneath that. Washer, dryer, hookup. Tons of storage with the drawers. Then you got your full bath across the back. When it comes down to a camper that you can get for 6,500 pounds and be under 30 feet long, this is an absolute home run.
Race fans, the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum is open 7 days a week, year-round, for you to come in and check out all of the wonderful race cars on display in the museum. And our online store at sprintcarstuff.com is open 24 hours a day for you to check out everything that we have in stock for sprint car fans. Whether it's for a birthday, anniversary, or Christmas, sprintcarstuff.com has it all. That's at the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum in Knoxville.
Go harder, faster, stronger with Rod End Supply. Whether you are running industrial, farming equipment, or a race car, Rod End Supply has the assortment of rod ends, radius rods, and specialty products that will help you lead the field in performance. Our superior design means our rod ends last longer and perform better, giving you the edge on the track and saving you money. Contact Rod End Supply or order online today at rodendsupply.com. We don't just sell them, we race them. rodendsupply.com. Serving the racing community for over 30 years.
Hey everybody, this is Larry the Cable Guy. You are listening to RacingBoys.com, and if you're not, I swear to you, get in your truck or do something, but get the hell out of this country, because you don't belong in it if you don't listen to these fellas.
It's time for America's most unique motorsports show, Track Talk, brought to you by Rod End Supply and the Power Ride Midwest Lightning Sprints. Here are the racing boys, Scott Traylor and Kirk Elliott.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Track Talk here on RBN, the Racing Boys Broadcasting Network. Todd Surprise running the show. My partner for 25 years, Kirk Elliott. Kirk, can you believe that we've done 25 years?
In some ways, no, but in other ways, yeah. I can't explain it, but time flies when you're having fun, doesn't it?
It does.
It's gone quicker than I ever imagined. But no, when you and I got together, I didn't think about this lasting 25 years.
Hey,
never thought about that.
What year did we get together?
2000.
2000.
Yeah. You and I were out at Lakeside Speedway one night.
And I approached you and I said...
I never even met you before.
I approached you and said, Kirk Elliott, would you like to be on my show?
And my first reaction was, I don't know. You know, here's...
and then after you listened to the show a little bit, you decided you wanted to be on it.
See, my hesitation was I'd seen you race. You know, I'd never really talked to you or met you, but you were kind of the bad guy out there. You like playing the villain out there. I don't know what I want to get together with that. So, but anyway, you were tied in with Union Broadcasting before I showed up.
Hey, just so everybody knows, you wanted to talk about Lakeside Speedway putting dirt on the racetrack.
Yeah, here's what happened. I was doing a show on another radio station with some guys, and it was all NASCAR.
Right.
And But I kept pressing the issue. Let's talk about some other things besides NASCAR. They said, we're only interested in NASCAR. So finally, they decided to put dirt on Lakeside Speedway.
Mark Morrell was part of that show, wasn't he?
Mark was with us. Great guy, by the way. God rest his soul.
Right.
Unfortunately, lost Mark here this past fall. So anyway, I got him talked into talking about putting dirt on Lakeside Speedway. Let's get Mark Olson on the air to talk about it. And they agreed to do that. And
at the last second,
minute,
they changed their
now
mind.
some other things in NASCAR come up. We're going to have to can that. We're going to have to ditch the interview with Mark Olson. And I wasn't happy about that.
Right.
I love NASCAR, but I wanted to talk about other things too. So,
And
then I remembered the offer that you presented me, and I had heard you do the show solo on Sports Radio 810. They'd just gotten on the 810 signal with the 50,000 watt blowtorch.
Right.
And you did the whole previous fall after I talked to you, and I said to myself, I think I'd like to be a part of what Scott's doing over here. So I give you a call back. I said, is the offer still open? You said, yeah. And the next weekend, it was like first Saturday in June of 2000. You and I were on the air that day, and we've been here ever since. So it's been fun.
It's been a long time, hasn't it,
Appreciate
Kurt?
you putting up with me.
Hey, I appreciate you putting up with me.
Yeah.
Because I'm not the easiest guy to get along with.
Oh, really? No kidding.
I'm kind of a prick.
The truth is, the most you and I have ever argued.
Hey, Todd, I've been known to be a prick or two, a time or two, haven't I?
I think you've mellowed in your age.
You're mellowing, by the way. But the truth is, you and I have argued more on the air than we ever have off the air. That's the truth. You and I don't argue much off the air. Maybe a little, if you want to talk
politics,
stuff like that, I'll argue with you. But
right.
You're still my best friend, and love being here, and glad you put up with me.
You're my best friend, too,
but,
as well,
the point is, there's other racing besides NASCAR, okay?
Right.
The racing world is not all about NASCAR, and we like talking the dirt racing, so that's why we're here.
Hey, Tony Stewart's going to drive the dragster again this year.
He's going to do it one more year?
Yeah.
Leah is nursing the new baby, so she's going to sit out of the Top Fuel dragster for another year, right?
I don't know if she'll ever drive a dragster again.
Oh, I think she will. I think she wants to. I think she wants to get back in there. Now, Tony has had a little argument with her a little bit because her idea is that they both have Top Fuel dragsters, and Tony's saying, no, I'm just filling in till you get back. That's his take on it. But her idea is they should each have Top Fuel dragsters and race against each other. I'm not sure that's going to happen, but I do know one thing. I think Leah's going to be back in the Top Fuel dragster maybe next year.
I think that she's going to be a full-time mom.
Well, you can be a mom and drive a Top Fuel dragster, can you not?
You don't want to jeopardize the mother of the child. I'm telling you, I don't see her getting back in a dragster.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how that works out. But it costs a lot of money to field another Top Fuel dragster. I think that's where Tony was coming from. But he's all drag racing now, isn't he, Tony Stewart?
He is.
Got rid of all his NASCAR stuff, and he's all about drag racing. So,
hey, if you're in Kansas City today, the World of Wheels is going on.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
So if you can go by the Carb has a booth. They have one there every year. You can go by the Carb and sign up and get your membership there. They're there. It's night number 2 of the – I can read exactly what it says here. Night number 2, World of Wheels in the books.
It costs $25 to get in.
Yeah. So 2 more days of World of Wheels. Be sure to stop by the Carb table if you need to renew your membership or you want to join. There's free entry to the grandstands on Carb nights at 6 Carb-supported tracks, plus many other benefits, businesses that support Carb. That includes your membership. So, if you're at the World of Wheels today, they got a lot lot of dirt cars out there. They're all out there ready for you to take a look at. So bring the kiddos by the little dirt and let them. Some of them let you climb in. I remember putting Zach in. He didn't want to do it. He was tiny kid. He was probably 5, I think, and I put him in one of those dirt cars, and he didn't want to do it. And I said, "Damn it, you're getting in there!" So I put him in there and took a picture. So, like, if you're at the World of Wheels today, it's a good place to go. It's gonna be nice out there today. So out there, visits a little overcast, but nice weather.
I think maybe Deidre and I will go down there tonight.
I was going to look and see who
there'll be other racing booths at the World of Wheels.
Oh yeah, no, there's a bunch.
Can we get in on media credentials?
I don't know. That was something I never even thought about. I never even once thought about that until you brought that up. And I think maybe we might for next year we might put in our
probably too late now.
Yeah, but we might be able to put our credentials in for next year because I never even thought about that. That'd be. I'm going to be working on some credentials for the Racing Boys next year. We're going to see if we can work our way into a few events maybe next year.
Some like music.
Yeah.
festivals
Well, there's a place, the NAMM shows.
The Man Show.
NAMM, N-A-M-M.
NAMM Show.
And
NAMM
it's
Show.
National American Merchant Music. And it's basically like the PRI.
I'd like to go with you to that, Todd.
That'd be kind of cool.
It's like the PRI show for broadcasting or recording or playing guitar.
California.
They have one in California, that's called the Winter NAMM, which is in January, just wrapped up, and then they have a Summer NAMM somewhere in Tennessee. And
Nashville?
Yeah, somewhere right out of Nashville, and they have their big one out there. That way, in case you're on the East Coast, you don't have to fly all the way to
Yeah, it'd be kind of
Anaheim.
cool to see, wouldn't it?
So I think I'm going to try to get us on there. But yeah, World of Wheels today. Get out there, check
Where all
out
the industry people show up.
That's right, and like you said, we're replacing stuff. We may not be like we were with the Chili Bowl back in the day, where we're buying new equipment every year. But you still got to replace stuff when they break. I mean, we got a mixer here that we're milking, and
all of our equipment is in this building right now.
that's right. Well, we've got a storage facility that we're trying to get rid of, right? I mean, that thing, it's holding cables and cords.
If
and
I could just get Shane Roach over here to pour a pad.
We just got to get our pad poured spring's coming, so hopefully it'll be an early.
So we don't have to pay rent on that storage locker anymore.
Chris said, "You're okay with me, Scott."
Hey, speaking of CARB, we're 5 weeks out from the Central Auto Racing Boosters Hall of Fame Awards Banquet. Honored to be the MC of that again this next year. And going into the Hall of Fame are Charlie Benedict Sr., Donald Connor, Vernie Covert, Ray Cunningham, Bob Douglas, J.D. Green, Rick Howard, Dave Rupard, and Pioneer inductee Pat Cunningham. And you can attend this banquet if you so desire. That is coming up, and I'll bring up the details of this if I can get to it, Saturday, March 8th. And this will be at the same place they had it last year, the George Mayan Community Center, 126th and State Avenue in Bonner Springs, Kansas. You can dress casual. Doors open at 3. Awards start at 4 o'clock. And come join us as we induct the 2024 class of the CARB Hall of Fame. That's Saturday, March 8th, the George Mayan Community Center. Can't wait for that. We're starting to get prepared for that big event coming up. And so mark that down on your calendar. Right as March Madness is getting going. So that's not too far away. Can you believe it's February already?
I can't believe it.
Crazy.
Next
Time
month
flies.
is going to be my birthday.
Next month.
I'll turn 65.
Oh, that's the big number. Medicare.
65.
My sister-in-law just turned 60 this year, and I told my wife, said, go easy on her, because I was gonna let her have it for turning 60. I've been waiting a long time for her to hit the big 60, but I didn't bother her.
You know, the only birthday that ever bothered me was 60.
That's what, and she told me, don't bother my sister.
Well, if that bothered you, what's 65 gonna?
No, it's the number. It's just that 6.
It's that 6-0.
It's when you see that, it's like, oh,
you're getting old.
That's
You know,
I remember
the number I'm thinking about, and I'm just 2 years away from that, 70. Now that's a big number, isn't it?
That sounds like a big number to me too.
I have a feeling that maybe 70
Are
bother
you going to
me.
make it to 70, Kirk?
I hope so.
You just wrap her up at 70. We're
You
gonna
never know.
We might shut this thing down.
I hope
by
you do too. How many more years are we going to do this show?
Well, we'll do it as long as you feel like you want to do it.
We're on board for we're on board for this year.
So we got Stanley Kreisel on
Stanley,
board?
I've just dialed him up. He's ready to go. So
He is the champion of the Midwest Lightning Sprints. They just had their banquet at the Corner Cafe last Saturday. Stanley Kreisel is joining us right now. Stanley, thanks for coming on. Congratulations for winning the championship. How does that feel, being a champion?
Oh, it feels great.
That's a great answer. How long you been doing the Midwest Lightning Sprints?
I didn't hear you. How long?
How long have you been running these cars?
5 or 6 years. I think 2019 might have been the first year I raced the Lightning Sprint.
And what attracted you to this style of racing? This is a very affordable class of racing. The cars go faster than you think around the racetrack. But what drew you to this class of racing?
Oh, I don't know. I'd raced micro sprints for 30 years probably, and really enjoyed it. Just kind of got tired of it, I guess. I don't know. We'll never get tired of racing, but just same. We raced mostly at Sweet Springs and pretty much same racetrack every week, and just was looking for something a little different. I got an opportunity to drive a race car, Lightning Sprint for a guy, and it was really fun. And it took me some tracks. The Lightning Sprints race a different track. We don't have a home track. We race 5, 6, 7, 8 tracks around the Midwest here, and it was just I'd never even seen these tracks before, and just neat to be able to travel a little bit, race with a different group of people, and really it's just another form of racing, but it's just lots of fun.
Hey, Stanley.
Yeah.
I know that the work on these race cars, they're kind of low maintenance, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, compared to a sprint car, I had a sprint car a couple of years, and it's compared to a sprint car, it's just nothing. It's you wash the car, you dry it off, you lube the chain. That's about it. In a sprint car, you run the valves, and just 3 or 4 nights a week of really intense work on a sprint car. And these little engines, they the valve train's real stable in them, and they just don't take near as much maintenance.
What is the say if a person wanted to get involved with the Midwest Lightning Sprints, how much money would they expect to spend on a race car and the overall maintenance of the car to keep it going? What kind of an outlay would a new person expect to spend to go out and have fun racing the Midwest Lightning Sprints?
Well, that's kind of a loaded question. You can spend as much money as you want to.
Right.
There's several cars around for, I hear people say $5,000, but you wouldn't get much of a car for $5,000, but for $10,000, you can get a pretty decent car. You can spend lots of money if you want to buy everything new. But we had a group of father and son. I think they bought a car for a little less than $10,000, and they dominated the class. So it's not to say that you can't really run good with an inexpensive car. And I don't know, you can spend as much money as you want to, but you don't have to.
What kind of chassis do you run?
So I have a hyper chassis. I'm sure everybody's familiar with hyper racing out in Pennsylvania.
Right. Yep. No doubt.
Yep.
And the chain is all about the chain drive. How kind of tell us the dynamic of the chain and how you keep that on the car and lubricated and run it. How big a factor is that? It's
not a big factor at all. I mean, it's not a big factor. They've got that figured out. I mean, you can mess anything up if you want to, but it stays on. It's not a factor. I don't know. Just it's not a real factor. I don't know how else to answer it.
Right.
Now, you, I remember watching you. Kreisel's a big name racing, right? Of course, we all know Riley and his crew. You're related. Yeah. How you related to Riley?
So Riley's my nephew. Be my brother's son. My brother's Richard Kreisel, and Riley's my nephew.
I remember one night I went down to Warrensburg, Central Missouri Speedway one night, and both you and Riley won on the same night. How big was that?
Yeah, that was neat. Riley's girlfriend was actually the on-track interviewer, so we had a kind of family reunion there in the Winter Circle.
Yeah, I noticed you guys were really celebrating that night after that. Yeah. What made you so dominant here the last couple? You won a lot of races this past year.
Yeah, I don't know. It took me a while to kind of adapt. I was pretty good in the micro sprints, but it took me a while to adapt. I guess that's the right word. Now these cars are quite a bit different. You set up in them like a midget, not a micro. You sit down and your feet out in front of you, and in a lightning sprint, they're basically a midget chassis with a wing on them. And I don't know, the brake pedal deal kind of was weird for me for a while, but once we kind of figured out what direction we needed to go, the car just came alive. I say the car. I just got to where I could really feel the car, and I don't know if that made me dominant or not, but anyway, it was. I finally got the feel I was looking for.
How many races did you win this year?
Oh, I don't know, 8 maybe. I think.
That really means you did a great job. You can't remember how many races you won.
Do you think they'll ever go non-wing racing? Would you like to do that a little bit?
I'm a wing guy. I don't know. I actually ran the Chili Bowl last year. I'll say last year, whichever 2024 Chili Bowl, which would have been a year ago, not this past one. First time I'd really ever been in a non-wing of any kind. And I don't think it's something I'm interested in. Richard and Riley always try to talk me into getting a non-wing sprint car. I just don't think it's something I'm interested in. I like that wing.
So you're going to continue on? You're going to try to defend your championship with the Midwest Lightning Sprints this year? Is that the plan?
Yes. I've got a bullseye on my back. Got some folks looking pretty hard to try to upset me. So yeah, I've been working on my car all winter trying to get ready. We've got some young kids coming up, and I'm afraid it's going to get tough.
You know, it sounds like a lot of people are starting to get interested in the Rod End Supply POWRi Midwest Lightning Sprints. I hear that there's some new people coming on board this year.
Yes, I've heard the same thing. I don't really know firsthand who they are, but Bob's been telling us he's got several people coming in, getting new cars, and that's really great.
Let's talk about some of the racetracks you're racing at. You're at Valley on a number of occasions, I-35 Speedway, Sweet Springs, Nevada. Just talk about some of these racetracks you'll be racing at this year.
Well, okay. So I-35 is a big racetrack for us. They race stock cars, and I think we're generally the only open wheel class up there. Big racetrack, lots of fun, fast, and big. It's probably the biggest track I'd like to race on. I think that anyway. Nevada, neat little track. it's closer to me than I-35, so I really like Nevada. It's just about the perfect size for our race cars. I think we raced there three nights this year. We raced there more in the past. Just a really fun racetrack. They raced 305 sprint cars down there some, and tried to get them on the same night as us some, but it's really fun. Valley, also a neat track, about the perfect size for us. I don't know what to say about it. It's dirt, it's round, it's a fun place to race. Now, Sweet Springs, that is the perfect racetrack for our size of cars. And we raced there about 4 times this season. Really, really, really fun track. That's where I race micros. Maybe I'm partial to it, but that's the fun place to race. It's on I-70. It's
exit 64. I think it's exit 64.
That's I-35, isn't it? Exit 64.
You mean Sweet Springs? Oh, it's something like that.
Sweet Springs. You know exit numbers better than I do,
right?
Yeah.
How much changes? What do you change on these cars going from track to track? Like you go from I-35 to Nevada or to Valley Speedway. What do you actually change on the cars from track to track?
Do you change shocks?
The gearing is what we change the most. I mean, once I kind of got my car figured out, I run just about the same stagger everywhere, but the gearing is just about all we change. Front and rear sprockets. It's not even difficult really, but pretty simple.
So would you say the biggest attraction to these cars is just the overall maintenance of the cars? Like, most people got to work for a living. They don't really have a lot of time to spend working on cars all week. That you can do the minimum amount of maintenance on these cars and not have to spend a whole lot of money maintaining them.
Yeah, that's a fact. There's not a lot of maintenance. They're not expensive. One person can race these cars. In other words, you can. I keep comparing everything to sprint cars. It takes 2 people to wash a sprint car. You got to get out of the trailer and get it back in. These things they've got starters and clutches, and one guy can push them around. Same way at home in the shop. It's so much easier. It's so much easier to maintain them and get them in and out of the trailer. Another interesting thing about these cars is that I compare everything to sprint car. I don't know why, but they race so much more like a sprint car than a micro sprint. Now, I don't know. This show isn't talking about micro sprint so much, but I think it'd be very, very easy to translate the feel and the driving style of these to go straight into sprint cars if a guy was going to try to move up to the next class. I don't know what the setup, the things that I struggled with on my sprint car, the same thing I struggled with on my Lightning Sprint until I got it figured out, and then it's just so much more like a real sprint car than a micro.
Well, Stanley, congratulations on the championship this year. Looks like you're the heavy favorite to do it again in 2025, and we can't wait to see you get going for the season this year. It's coming up on April the 12th at Valley Speedway is the season opener, and then you're going to be at I-35 Speedway later on in April, so we'll look forward to seeing you out there. Congratulations on the championship. Well done.
What do you think about I-35 Speedway?
Well, I mean, it's a neat place. It's so far from me. The worst part is it's like almost a 3-hour drive for me. So a lot of the thoughts about it are how late I get home and how early I got to leave to get up there. But otherwise, it's a great place to race.
You know, I always think about Adrian, Missouri, the racetrack that's.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You remember that track, Stanley?
Do you remember the racetrack, Adrian, Missouri?
I've never been to Adrian.
Oh, that would have been perfect for the lightning sprints.
It would have.
That
been,
was.
It was a great size.
That would have been a perfect size for these cars.
Yep.
I'm wondering if that track's still there.
I don't know. Who's it? Glenn Portson.
Glenn Portson
owned that racetrack. Had it right out behind his house. And it was an old country racetrack. People bring their lawn chairs out, and it was a bull ring. So, but anyway, it's the smaller the track, the better for these cars, right. Stanley?
Absolutely, yeah. You get a much better sense of speed. I mean, they're fun anyway, but when the racer, I don't know, when you're in the car, you'll understand. It just when that corner's coming up, you get a much higher sense of speed on a small racetrack, and the spectators like them so much better. They don't get to spread out. You actually race rather than just drive around the circle.
Right.
Yeah. Did you have any major on-track incidents this year where things got a little dicey?
No, I had one little issue on a start at I-35. A car spun out early up in the front of the pack, and I kind of made contact with him and bent left front. No, I haven't had too many close calls this year.
You think most of the racers in this class don't really want to mix it up because they know they got to work on it when it costs money when you wreck a race car? You think that people are a lot more respectful in this class than maybe some other divisions out there?
I don't see any problem with respect, really. I mean, a lot more. Everybody's very respectful. I'll give you that, but we're also racers too. But I don't see anybody out there trying to tear other people up. It's pretty respectful.
All right, Stanley, we can't thank you enough for being on the show today, and I know that you were kind of hesitant on being on the show, but we really appreciate your championship and what you've done, and we're going to root for you to win that championship again.
Congratulations to you.
Thanks. Hey, I'd like to give a shout out to Sure Built Suspension, Mike Sure. He builds the greatest shocks, and my brother, he runs Advantech Dyno Service. He keeps that motor tuned up. So I want to shout out to those guys particularly. Appreciate it, and Bob Douglas at Rod End Supply. We couldn't do it without him.
Oh yeah, Bob Douglas he's the greatest.
He's the greatest guy.
Yeah. Who shows up at the racetrack with you to help you out?
I've got a good friend, Bob DeGood. He comes with me every week. He's my main guy.
You got to have that out there, don't you? You
got
to
to have some help.
It's hard to find good help, isn't it?
Oh, I know it. It is.
Well, listen, we'll look forward to seeing you out on the racetrack. Thanks for joining us this morning. We really appreciate it.
Okay, guys. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care.
Thanks. Yep.
There he is, Stanley Kreisel, joining us here today. That's pretty cool.
We got another interview that we did with Brad Wyatt.
You want to run that right now?
Do you want to run that?
Yeah, we might as well knock it out of the way and get it out.
Brad Wyatt, Part 2. He is the new owner of the Midwest Wingless Racing Association. A week ago, it was announced that POWRi War and MWRA would join forces with a 21-race schedule coming up in 2025. We spoke a little bit with Brad, Hour 1. We had him on our Mostly Motorsports show earlier in the week. Here's Part 2. The Jesse Hawk and Daniel McMillan Memorial, 3 nights, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, September 18th, 19th, and 20th. That's got to be the crown jewel of the whole series, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that always has been. It's always a great trip. A lot of the guys in the series look at that like their vacation every year. They just really look forward to it. It's always a good time there. Yeah, the facility's beautiful and it's got everything you need. It's great. Yep.
One other track I wanted to point out: we've seen non-wing sprint cars at Sweet Springs, but that is a bull ring, isn't it? You're going to be there in May.
Yeah, it's really small. You run the same size gear there in a midget, at least in a Mopar midget. I know you run a 698 there, and you run a 698 at Chili Bowl. So it's about the same size as Chili Bowl, and we're going there. That came up actually before I had anything to do with the series, and I was trying to round up a schedule and kind of go over with our list of demands, so to speak, to the promoters and say, hey, you weren't getting many race cars last year. This is what we want, and this is what you should do. A lot of guys spoke up about that, and I said, I don't know. That place is really small, and some of the guys said, if we didn't really tear anything up, and it's super wide, and it's a really good time. So, yeah, we're going there, and it should be interesting, and I think it'll be pretty racy. Yeah.
John Bowler took over US 36 Raceway, and you're going up there a couple times as well.
Yep. Yeah, we sure are. Yeah, I have a really good relationship with John, and I've known John for 5 or 6 years, so he was one of the first guys I reached out to. I always worked really good with John, and he's always taken really good care of me and the racers, and done everything he's said and more, quite frankly. So John's great. We're excited.
Yeah, that's big news. We get US 36 back open again. Sadly, we lost Mike Franks last fall, but to keep that racetrack going, that's certainly a big deal. So when it comes to officiating, I assume all of these races are going to be on the POWRi start to finish video, or how's that going to work?
Yeah, that's right. Yep, Kenny and POWRi have their own streaming network. I'm not positive. I don't want to speak for them. I'm not real sure about like Knoxville or the Corn Belt class or anything.
That'll be on Flow.
Sort of
that'll be on Flow.
Confliction with Flow or something like that. But our races will be streamed on start to finish. So it brings a good value for the competitors. It brings a great value for our title sponsor, Wholesale Batteries, who is really just a huge gift in on-wing sprint car racing. I can't say enough how much we owe to Wholesale Batteries and Randy Powell, who owns it, and just all the people there and everything they do for us as racers. I told everybody in our last meeting, I said, hey, whether you realize it or not, some of you guys need to be really thankful. Wholesale doesn't just sponsor the series, but they sponsor all of you. I mean, our start pay is up to $300 now, which in the past it had been $200, $225, $250 at sometimes, I think. So with them, we're able to do a lot of the things we want to do, even in a market that's kind of diminished a little bit over the last couple of years. Obviously, with decreased car counts, we don't have the leverage to come in and ask for the purses that we need, because these cars are so expensive. So through being able to market Wholesale Batteries and their brand, they make some of that possible for us. So, that's great.
How did that all come together with Wholesale Batteries?
Well, that's been there for a while, hasn't it? They've been with the MWA.
Did I lose you?
We got you.
I might have lost you.
I think we got you. You got us now? Here, hold on a second.
Can you hear us now, Brad?
Put him on hold a second.
We may have lost connection. So.
Oh, I got you now. I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Wholesale Tire and Battery, they've been with the series a number of years leading up to this.
They have. Yeah, that was something Raul Romero started, I think, back when the series first started. He had a connection with him, and then Randy continued over. And fortunately, like I said, we still have them. They're a great gift to non-wing sprint car racing, and they do so much for us, and we're beyond lucky to have them.
And POWRi really didn't have the title sponsor of their own, so that's where they benefit, is bringing that sponsorship over. It helps everybody.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And we benefit from the resources that POWRi has, their professional race direction, and a lot of their materials and property and transponders and other extra things and all the stuff that goes along with it.
Now, do they provide all of the officiating of this, or do you have some officials, combination of both, or is POWRi going to run the race operations? How's that work?
So, yeah, POWRi will do most of the race directing, or all of. They have the ability to do it, but I've made sure to be accommodating and reach out to any of them. There are people that wanted to stick around, so they'll include them and keep them around as well, because I appreciate them, and I appreciate anybody that wants to stick it out and stay with us and keep moving. It's all about growing and making this deal better is what it's about for me. So anybody that will stick around, I appreciate them.
Hey, talk about USAC a little bit.
That's not going to be a part of it this time, though, is it? USAC's gone, right?
Yeah, no, we're just sanctioned by PowerEye. It's a little bit cheaper for our members, honestly. I haven't even really talked to USAC much, so I can't really say much about what they did or what they do or anything like that. But we're PowerEye sanctioned.
I know one thing you want to talk about. What about your son, Bo? You got a racer on your hands here, don't you?
Yeah, it's not good.
Hey,
not good. He plays the violin too, so I'm hoping we take a hard fork in the road and he really hits the violin a little bit harder.
There you go.
He's a violin player.
He's a pretty good racer, isn't he?
Yeah, he's pretty good. We don't really have any intentions to race locally this year. We're kind of, I don't want to say moving on because a lot of the local kids are really good, but he shows up to the local track and he doesn't really have a ton of competition. And we're just moving on. He's going to Speed Sports in Texas next week to test, and then he's going to be back at Speed Sports, and then he'll be all over the place. I think he ended the year at Road America last year. He probably won over 20 local races last year, so it's time to go down the national tour road for him if there's going to be bigger and better things to come. So we've thrown him to the wolves.
Yeah, he's sitting there looking at telemetry from a race on a photo we're looking at here. I think things are a little bit different nowadays compared to.
Yeah, that's probably with his driving coach. That's an Italian guy named Marco that flies over from Italy. That's how ridiculous go-kart racing has become.
Hey, you got your
How bad
hands.
it's got.
You got your hands full with Bo and the NWRA. Talk about that. How's that going to work out for you?
Told most of the people at the meeting that luckily we have PowerEye in place to do all the race directing. I don't want anything to do with race directing. I'd like to still race some myself, which I'll do. I joked instead of start, just go ahead and penalize and be double. That's what I'd prefer. I'm not here to become a race director or anything like that. That's not what I want to do. So in the event I can't make a couple races or something like that, you can rest assured that I probably worked 30 hours or 60 hours a week calling people or fielding phone calls or wrangling down sponsorship or whatever it may be to try to keep this deal going. So, and he'll do a bunch of racing this year too.
And you got a business up here in Kearney. What kind of business you in?
I do. So when I first moved here, I bought Prime Racing from Dustin Boney. And we ran that for about 4 years. And when COVID came around, our lease was coming up, and just some of the drains of owning a race shop were, I don't know, it wasn't what I was expecting it to be, and I wasn't enjoying it as much. So all we do is build hose assemblies now. We've got some industrial contracts and stuff like that, so we do more of that than race car stuff. But we just build hose assemblies, fuel lines, water lines, power steering lines, high pressure lines. We built some hose assemblies for an electric vehicle company. We just built like a couple hundred or 1,000 hose assemblies for a guy who has an oiling system patent on a Porsche. So anything you can put a hose assembly on, we'll pretty much build it for him.
And how many times do you think you'll be driving a sprint car this year?
Gosh, honestly, if I had my hopes, there's I think I counted 17 or so local races, and if you had the wild card stuff in there, there's probably 22 of them. So, I mean, I don't know, 15 to 20 times or something if I have my way, and then I'll break the midget out a few times when MWRA is not running or something like that. But I don't know, maybe I only race 8 or 10 times. It just really depends on what my kiddo's got going on.
Yeah, it sounds like he's the highest priority right now. He's got a big future ahead of him, it sounds like.
Yeah, no matter what they do, they're always the highest priority, right? Like if he's playing the violin or if he's playing t-ball or whatever it may be. I don't think you can miss any of that along the road, and I think that'll be the biggest regret of your life if you miss one split second of it sometimes, you know.
Hey, Brad, we can't thank you enough for being a part of Mostly Motorsports. We appreciate everything that you do for NWRA, and I think they're in good hands right now. To be honest with you, I thought that Shelby had her hands full with the NWRA, and she wasn't enjoying herself as much as she was.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. You know, I guess I never thought of it that way. Again, I'm thankful to have some of the resources we have in place to help, because it could certainly become really, really, really taxing. And that's probably a good point. Shelby worked really hard at it, and she's been really cool, and she's been really helpful to me lately, especially the last couple of weeks. She said she might come around still. I said, hey, man, the door's open if you want to come back and help. She said, yeah, sure. I've got all these media files and just all that stuff that you have on a laptop and that. She said, I'd love to help when I can. So I said, we'd love to have anybody help out that can. So.
Hey, as we part here on this segment, you had a meeting on Saturday. Just what was the response from the racers? Just kind of tell us about everybody's response to what you're doing here.
Yeah, it seemed pretty good. There were a couple times that people spoke up and got pretty, let's say, passionate about a few things. But
imagine that, racers being passionate.
Yeah. But most of the group agreed, hey, let's just move on. Like that's some of the stuff is not as important as the survival of all of our race cars and all these other things. So. And I made it well known, hey, look, I'm just here because I'm a racer, and I just want what's best for the racers. I don't want what's best for me, because what's best for me might not be best for 18, 20, 24 race cars. And if those 18, 20 race cars or whatever don't exist, my race car doesn't exist either. So
right.
Let's just all come together on this deal, because the fans and the racers and the sponsors and everybody else, they're all going to benefit from a better show and all of us coming together, I think.
Welcome back. It's Track Talk here on RBN, the Racing Boys Broadcasting Network. It's all brought to you by Rod End Supply, featuring the PowerRide Midwest Lightning Sprints. We just had Stanley Kreisel on as well. He's the 24 champion.
Yeah, it was a good interview. Good to have Stanley on, and he's going to go for another championship this year. And, of course, Brad Wyatt, the new owner of the Midwest Wingless Racing Association, combined schedule for 2025.
Kirk.
And so we'll see how that works out.
Kelly said, NASCAR has lost me. I've taken Lucas Oil late models all day long. Grego.
Yeah, a lot of people feel that way. You know, NASCAR's really dropped the ball. We touched on this a little bit earlier in the show. For a number of reasons. Of course, everything has changed, too, from the financial end of it, and that's why you're seeing all these lawsuits and things happening with NASCAR. They've come up with the charters and all of that. Why is that? Is because the individual car owners are not bringing in the revenue from big-time sponsorships as they once did. So they got to try to find the revenue elsewhere. How do they do that? It's by partnering with NASCAR and getting part of that TV revenue, because that's where the money's at. You can't go out and sell these tens of $1 million multi-year sponsorships like you used to. They're just not there. They're not available. So where are they going to get the money? It's by becoming partners with NASCAR and getting the revenue sharing off that TV money. And that's wherein lies the problem that NASCAR is in right now, the power play that's going on within the sport right now. I don't know for sure how this is all going to play out, but it's in the courts right now. And what's going to happen is that NASCAR is going to have to give in a lot more to these car owners than they ever thought they ever would have to.
It's kind of like the drivers nowadays don't get paid like they used to.
No. Well,
they only offer them like $500,000.
Yeah, I mean, 25 years ago, NASCAR was way higher than everybody thought it would ever get to. I mean, you had Dale Earnhardt, even after he passed, the sport even became bigger than when Dale Earnhardt was driving a race car. Jeff Gordon was part of that. The money was flowing in like crazy 25 years ago. But then when the recession hit in 2008, that's when you saw things start to really tail off, and you saw a lot of these big-name drivers retire. Jeff Gordon retired, Tony Stewart. You had Dale Earnhardt Jr. These were personalities that transcended the sport, And now you have drivers, most of which nobody would recognize them if they met them on the street.
Right.
That's where NASCAR is at right now. They've kind of built back. The quality of the racing has been good. I'm not going to complain about that. But NASCAR has made so many changes to the sport that it's chased away most of your loyal followers of the sport from years gone by. The people who were passionate back in the old days that weren't just here today and gone tomorrow. In order to replace that, NASCAR has brought in the new casual fan that are going to be here today and gone tomorrow because they're not passionate about the sport that guys like you and I were growing up. A lot of those people have been chased away. So NASCAR has made so many changes to the sport that it becomes not real. It's not. It's like made for TV, and a lot of the decisions that have been made by the TV executives in order to bring in new fans, but at the same time they chased away the old fans because a lot of these changes that NASCAR has brought in, the old-time race fans like you and me, we don't like so much.
Right.
So that's a big problem right now. But the financial status of the sport, and this is nobody's fault, this is just where we are today, just putting a logo on the side of a race car is not bringing in the return on investment for these big companies like it used to. And so they're just not spending the kind of money for sponsorships on these race teams like they used to, and I'm not sure they ever will because there are other ways to market people's products now with technology having changed that they're not spending the tens of millions of dollars to these race teams to put their sponsorships on the race cars.
Marie says, love the Lucas Oil forever. Better shows, definitely hitting the Port Royal this year.
Yeah, and here's the other thing, and she brought this up now, that with streaming of these dirt races across the country, the races that you and I love, they're so exposed now that people have choices of what they can watch racing. Used to be NASCAR was the only option. If you wanted to watch races on TV, NASCAR was it. We couldn't see the sprint car race, the World of Outlaws, and the Lucas Oil late models on live TV every night. Now we can watch all of those races on our big screen TV just like NASCAR. And to be honest with you, the racing is better. The dirt racing is better and more fun to watch than NASCAR.
Hey, do you think that by televising these races that we're spoiled? Do you think so?
I'm not sure spoiled is the word, but we have options now. Where NASCAR used to be the only option to watch racing on TV, it's no longer that. And I think, Todd, you'd probably agree with this. A lot of this dirt racing we're watching right now on a nightly basis is more fun to watch than NASCAR.
Yeah, I know that NASCAR, they're going to have to do something eventually. They'll probably figure a different format or
they need to shorten down the season.
Yeah, the season that would be my only.
The season is
thing.
too long.
I think so.
It's so long.
It goes from February all the way to November.
If you're going to do this type of thing, I think you need to have a half champion in the beginning, like two champions. Because the season's so damn long that it doesn't. People lose their interest. The only people that's going to keep their interest are people that are diehard. I mean, the absolute diehard of the diehard. My thought would be, you need to get away from this stage racing type of thing. I mean, the stages are fine, but you need to make it emphasis on winning. If you win the race, the points that you gather.
They tried to do that.
I know.
They tried to make winning an emphasis.
Marie says, hey, during COVID, they were the only ones to show racing on Facebook when they went back to racing.
Yeah, the late model.
You mean the dirt? What is she?
The one she was referring to, the one she watches now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, COVID probably changed a lot of people's habits. Now, NASCAR, to their benefit, kept going. They didn't stop, really, outside of about a month or so when COVID hit. And they were the first major sport to bring their product back to the masses, so I got to give them credit for that. But I think NASCAR went too far in making a lot of changes to the point system, to stage racing, double file restarts, the lucky dog. All of these things seem contrived and made for TV more, and it separated themselves from what happened in the past. It's hard to compare what happened in the past to what's happening today because the sport has changed and the way we determine a champion is changed and all of that. And I think your longtime race fans, your people who are real race fans, had just been chased away from the sport. They're thinking, enough already. I'm just, I'm going to watch something else. And they've got other choices now. They have other choices.
They've got more options.
More options.
Dirt Vision, Flow, Speed Sport TV.
And you'd agree with me, the production value of the races that we're watching on a nightly basis just this weekend, Flow and Dirt Vision are high-quality productions that rival what you see with the NASCAR productions on TV.
Right.
I think, don't you?
Yeah, I agree with you.
The commentary and the coverage of these dirt races are giving NASCAR a good run for its money, and also IndyCar or any other major sport. And I don't know if you agree with me or not, Scott, but the stars of NASCAR are really no bigger than the stars of the World of Outlaws or Lucas Oil Late Models or USAC Sprints. We recognize these guys that we see race on a nightly basis on dirt every bit as much, if not more so, than the 40-some drivers that show up at these NASCAR races.
Do you think that the drivers of the World of Outlaws and the High Limit Series are bigger than NASCAR drivers?
I think so. To me, of course, we follow that very closely, but those guys are every bit as big as stars and recognizable figures as the NASCAR guys, don't you think?
I would agree with that.
Well, there's a crossover, too. I mean, you've got Bell and Larson, and those guys race they're racing a couple times a week, right? I mean, they're racing sprint cars. They're racing NASCAR. I mean, Kyle Larson's jumping into Indy cars. He's jumped into late models. He's jumped into everything.
Is Ricky Thornton Jr. any less of a star than most of the guys that you see on NASCAR?
I agree, but I think we get sometimes us here, like Scott used to say, racing's a niche sport, Sprint car racing's a niche of another niche, and whereas NASCAR kind of engulfs everything. Like when you say, because if you talk to somebody who doesn't know anything about anything, because I'll tell people, they go, what do you do? And I say, well, I'm a producer for a radio show, and they're like, what kind of show is it? And I go, racing. They're like, NASCAR? I mean, that's the first thing they go to, because that's what they assume. I mean, there's a giant track in 90% of the not 90, but a lot of the states across the country, there's a big NASCAR track. And so I get it. What I would, if it was me, if I was NASCAR, I'd reduce the season a little bit, but I would get these drivers out.
What tracks would you take out, Kurt?
Now, see, there's the big problem. It's easy to talk. Yeah, I agree that the NASCAR season is too long.
You don't need to.
But NASCAR's not going to be cutting events anytime soon. I don't think so.
But you don't need the 2 races at Kansas no more, to be honest. I don't think you do. I like it. You're always going to have it because that's a NASCAR-owned track. That's her baby. That's when they built that thing. But my thought is there's a lot of tracks they go to twice. I don't think there's why would you go back to another, I don't see that why we need to do that.
I don't think Kansas Speedway is too hip on Iowa Speedway getting a race, do you?
Well, they're owned by the same people.
They're owned by the same, so I think
NASCAR owns both racetracks. No. But I'm not in favor of getting rid of races at Kansas Speedway because, to be honest with you, that's the best racetrack on the whole circuit.
No, I get it.
And I'm not for dumping any races out of Kansas because the racing's been so good out here.
Like I said, for us alone but some of these
we're spoiled.
We are, but we go to a lot of these tracks more than once, and I don't know. Maybe you have to put this thing on a rotation schedule on some of these places where
you know what's great about Kansas Speedway? They can run at the top and they can run at the bottom.
Yeah. It's the best racetrack on the circuit, in my opinion, because I'm biased, but it is. We had a photo finish last year, the closest finish in the history of NASCAR at Kansas last year, and the racing has just been terrific. And so I'm not for dumping any races at Kansas Speedway.
Yeah, I'm with you guys on that. I just meant when you're running and you're going back to cities a second time, that just seems like you're overkill. In the old days, don't get me wrong, they were selling out, man. You know what I'm saying? You bought tickets. I had season tickets. When you bought tickets out of Kansas Speedway, you had to buy them for all 4 races. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it wasn't
when it first opened up, it was packed.
Yeah. So I get it, but man, it's changed
but
a lot.
But the world has changed too.
That's exactly right.
The TV has changed. The technology is a lot of it that a lot of people don't attend live events like they used to either. But having said that, Arrowhead Stadium still sells out.
I'm going to say football is still the beast, and nobody's going to kick.
Football is number one.
NFL rules the world. There's no doubt about it. The NBA is having trouble.
Yeah, MLB is having problems trying to get TV rights and things. You know, and if you're not a big boy, you're not getting. That's my thought anyway. I would definitely say I would be talking to former NFL executives that run the production sides and say that's who I'd be hiring. People that think that way. I mean, you're not going to be able to mimic what the NFL does, and I think that was what the problem in NASCAR did. They tried to implement things and playoffs and all this.
Well, here's the other thing. People's attention spans are
absolutely
you better deliver the goods quick because people have other choices to spend
You know
their
what
time.
the problem is?
Everybody has a phone.
Everybody's on the phone right now.
People are just not going to sit in front of a TV for 4 hours and watch a NASCAR race.
I completely agree, and that's maybe another thing they should look at, and maybe cutting these races down. I get it that you don't want to mess with tradition, but what's tradition when nobody's watching it no more, right? So cut the races down. They don't need – I mean, the Daytona 500 is still going to be 500, but some of these weekend races, they don't need to be on for 4 hours. You know, with some of these crashes we've had, some of these races are still 4 and 5 hours long, guys.
Well,
That's way too long.
And the difference with dirt racing is if you don't have time to watch the whole 4-hour, heat races and qualifying and everything, you've got the main event.
Yeah.
And you can only spend, 30 minutes to an hour at most watching a 50-lap main event from the Lucas Oil Series last night, and you feel like you've seen the whole show.
I agree. I think they should probably try to figure a way, maybe doing more that way. Try to figure a way out to do heat instead of – I know that's what – anything, but you're losing viewers, guys. All I know is they're losing viewers on NASCAR. They truly are. TV viewers. Now, maybe – they're still not having problems selling out. A lot of these places are selling a lot of tickets. We know
and the
that.
Product of NASCAR is better than it once was.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean,
No,
really, a lot of the racing is really good to watch.
Really good racing. It's
but
the names.
Problem is NASCAR's got competition now for the eyeballs.
Absolutely.
Right.
And that's last night's Lucas Oil race at Alltech. It's the World of Outlaws this next week. Every one of those races is going to be on live Dirt Vision. We just watched the Chili Bowl.
I got you.
Hundreds
That's exactly
of thousands,
right.
if not million people watch the Chili Bowl that never been to the Expo Center. They saw it on Flow Racing.
Yep.
The coverage is there of the dirt racing, and the production quality rivals what you see on NASCAR. And that's the problem NASCAR is dealing with. They've got competition now, and it's dirt racing.
All right, folks, thanks for everybody for tuning in to Track Talk here on RBN, the Racing Boys Broadcasting Network, and Sports Radio 810 WHB. We can't thank you enough for doing so. For Todd Surprise, for Kirk Elliott, I'm Scott Traylor saying thanks for joining us. It's all been brought to you by Rod End Supply, featuring the POWRi Midwest Lightning Sprints.
We'll be here at Monday noon.
Mostly
at noon. Motorsports. We're not sure exactly what we're doing yet, but we'll be here.
We'll be here. All right, thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see you next week right here on Track Talk.
faster, stronger with Rod End Supply. Whether you are running industrial, farming equipment, or a race car, Rod End Supply has the assortment of rod ends, radius rods, and specialty products that will help you lead the field in performance. Our superior design means our rod ends last longer and perform better, giving you the edge on the track and saving you money. Contact Rod End Supply or order online today at rodendsupply.com. We don't just sell them, we race them. rodendsupply.com. Serving the racing community for over 30 years.